And I pretty much love shooting anything on back roads like grain elevators, ghost towns, historic buildings, and water towers and stuff. And in Saskatchewan, there's no shortage of these buildings. You can turn left on one grid road, and there will be a nice church on the side. You turn right on the next grid road, and you'll find one of those old one-room schools. There's never any shortage of exploring new things in Saskatchewan.
This came from Wisconsin. Yeah, it must have been a very different way of life, that's for sure.
Well, I think one of the reasons why people are drawn to these buildings, especially photographers, is first of all, the architecture on these buildings is really neat. It's interesting and it's old-fashioned. There is a certain technical aspect for photography that draws people. But then there's also the nostalgia part. And they're sort of drawn into it because then they get to see it with their own eyes, and sometimes you can take a peek into the past. But I was mostly drawn to the grain elevators at first because to me those were really interesting buildings. But then as you start noticing the ghost towns with the old banks and the old churches, then I started cruising back roads looking for even more stuff. And I still to this day prefer cruising back roads over any other kind of Saskatchewan vacation stuff.
I do try to immerse myself in the place, trying to imagine what it must have been like. Like that's clearly the back door, and this is where the kids probably played. Yeah, I kind of just try to feel what it must have been like living in those days. Living in rural Saskatchewan must have been very lonely, but yet they were very satisfied people.
When you're shooting these buildings, you're not just taking a picture of a building anymore. You're capturing a way of life. I'm trying to capture that spirit of how people used to live somehow. Like, it was lonely, it was harsh. So when you're shooting out these places in the middle of fall, when everything is desaturated, no more color on it, leaves are bare, it gives it a hauntingly beautiful sort of look to things. So when I go out and shoot these places, like 10, 15 years ago, I didn't know any better. I didn't know that you needed to get permission while you're visiting them. So nowadays especially, you got to get permission. And you also have to be careful because there's abandoned wells and very sharp things that you can hurt yourself. And the conditions of these buildings are very poor now that you can fall through the floor. Whenever I go to visit some of these abandoned farmhouses or churches, I try to imagine how many decades of Christmases and Halloween celebrations, birthdays, births, and funerals that those people did living in the same room. They didn't move around every 5 years like we do now. So in a lot of these places, is generations of one family who lived in these places or serviced these buildings. Every one of these buildings that I'm capturing, I am kind of fully aware that it's not going to be around very much longer. Every single one of these buildings has a story to tell. And as a photographer, I try to see myself as a storyteller with my camera, and I'm trying to capture those stories.